Hello everybody, Michael here for Tactica Imperialis. Welcome to today's video. Today is going to be addressing a very whispered rumour that's been going around of late. I want to stress before we get into the rumour itself that this is extremely high dosages of salt advised. It may be complete nonsense, but it's an interesting topic that we can talk about anyway. So the rumour is, and it's very, very whispered, that there is going to be an 8th edition update for 40k in the autumn. Around September time is what I heard. We've had conflicting sources saying that this is either not going to happen, or it's going to be a certain way, or it's going to not be like that, or it's a complete overhaul, or it's just a 7.5, or it's going to be like AOS. We don't know anything. So I wouldn't put any credence into any rumour you really read as to what's going to happen, because we just don't know. But what this leads to is just an discussion of what we would like to see change within Warhammer 40k if a new edition were to come around. So that's probably what I'm going to be doing for the majority of this video. First of all, I just want to react to the rumour itself. If it is true, I'm a little bit surprised and or concerned for the simple reason of 7th edition is coming up on 2 years. In fact, I remember reporting on the launch of 7th edition very early in Tactica Imperialis' history, which was 2 years ago. So I do know that this edition is only about a similar age to 6th edition. And 6th edition was in need of a fix, which is why we got 7th, but I don't feel like 7th needs it the same way 6th did. So I'm kind of not sure if the game needs to be done, but it sets a worrying trend that for the 2nd edition in a row, there is a chance that a rulebook is left for 2 years and then updated. Because that implies that it's going to become a regular thing that every 2 years we get a new edition for 40k. The problem with that is that it means we get less time to learn the rules and adapt to them, particularly if you're someone who plays very casually and doesn't really keep up with everything. And for our wallets, we have to spend upwards of £40 every couple of years on a new rulebook, only to know it's going to be replaced very soon. It's kind of, I don't want to make an analogy to a mobile phone contract, but you get the idea. And considering the amount of weight that comes behind a rulebook, having to update every 2 years is kind of worrying, and I hope it's not the case. Hopefully 7th edition will last a little longer, or this 8th edition or 7.5 will be enough to give it a long shelf life in the manner of 5th edition or heck, 2nd or 3rd edition, which lasted absolutely zogging ages. With that said, if the rumours are true and there is a 8th edition coming, what would we like to see? Well, it got me thinking, and I've got a little list on a sheet of paper in front of me of a few things I would like to see changed. The first one pertains to Assault. We said this with 7th, because it was true in 6th and it's still true now. Assault needs a buff in some way. I don't really know how, but Assault armies at the moment are being completely outclassed. You cannot run a melee dedicated army and expect to win competitively. It might work now and then, but it will not work twice against the same player. I really highly doubt it. Shooting armies are just way, way stronger. And with the addition of Overwatch, which I love as a mechanic, but is extremely dangerous to assault armies, it does mean that shooting has its complete dominance over the game right now. One thought I had for giving Assault a buff is changing the cover system. So at the moment, Ignore's cover is sodding everywhere, and it's ridiculously good. Whether it's Markolites, whether it's Whirlwind Pipe Plates, which are exceptionally good at mopping up infantry, by the way, Flamers, or anything of that like, Ignore's cover is not that hard to come across. Heck, there's even a Psychic Power that gives it out, I believe. So I think Ignore's cover needs a nerf. Take it from you get no cover save to you suffer a penalty to your cover saves. Maybe -2 or -3. It depends on how powerful you want Ignore's cover to still be. Because if it's a -2, for example, you still get no cover save for intervening models. And you only get a 6+ for being in heavy terrain such as a ruin. If you make it a -3, then it's basically ignores cover all over again until you account for stealth and shrouded, and that's what I think is a little bit annoying. The fact that something with stealth and shrouded in a ruin has a theoretical 1+ cover save, only to be ignored by so many things. And so I think just changing the way ignores cover works, it might not affect the general game, would give the dedicated stealth units a bit more of a chance if they needed it. I mean, stealth suits are already annoying, but ignores cover doesn't really help against them because they've still got a 3-up save. Another thing you could do to help assault armies, well, actually no, this wouldn't help assault armies at all, is lookout, so I'll come back to that. Something else you could do is you could modify fear. Fear at the moment is kind of a very pointless mechanic. It doesn't really do anything, and everybody forgets it's a thing. A theory I have, and it's probably a little bit overpowered, is to make fear work similarly to the Dirge Caster, where you cannot fire Overwatch against a unit that causes fear. This might be too strong, and so you need to change it so you must pass a leadership test in order to Overwatch against a unit that causes fear. Or you must pass some test in order to Overwatch against a unit that causes fear. Or you introduce a new rule, kind of like paralyzing fear, where you literally cannot Overwatch, and you apply that to some of the really big stuff. Because at the moment, I just think it needs something to give assault armies a chance. And those are just two suggestions I had, but they're probably a little bit out there. So if you have your own thoughts, feel free to let me know in the comments below. The next thing I would look at is I would look at the Psychic phase. Now, I like the Psychic phase. It's grown on me from when I first saw it in 7th edition. And I think it's in a reasonable space. However, there is a need for a general balance pass within the Psychic powers. They need to be balanced up with each other, particularly invisibility and the power that divination can bring to the table. But invisibility in particular, I've ranted before about invisibility, so I won't do so again. But that power needs nerfing a lot. So just a general balance pass on the Psychic powers and possibly increase the prevalence of Adamantium Will. At the moment, if an army has no Psychers, it has absolutely no chance in the Psychic phase of defending itself. And to be fair, even an army with like one Psyker against an army with multiple Psychers cannot defend itself in the Psychic phase. It makes narrative sense, but at the same time, it's kind of unfair to think that, I'll use my Orcs as an example because Tau and Necrons don't really need the help, that I have absolutely no way through my mob mentality of Orcs of stopping your Psychic power through sheer will. I still need a 6. An army-wide Adamantium Will, or just a general increase in the presence of Adamantium Will, would at least stop units taking damage in the Psychic phase. The problem is, most of the best powers in the game are blessings, and there's pretty much nothing you can do to deny those, because you never get any buffs on them, because you're never targeting an enemy unit, and so the enemy unit's Psyker or Psyker levels cannot help you. So blessings are pretty much impossible to stop once they go off. So I think you could do something, just a general, like I say, a balance pass is what the Psychic phase needs. Not much tweaking, just little things. Next up, I accidentally hinted at this earlier, is Lookout Sir. Now, Lookout Sir is a cool mechanic, it's very helpful, and again, narratively kind of makes sense. Either you get thrown in the way or you throw yourself in the way. But against precision shots, it makes slightly less sense. For the simple reason of, these are trained snipers. They are aiming at specific people. And unlike when you're at the front of the squad, guys just, you throw someone in front of you. If you're being sniped from the back of the unit, you may not get that chance. What I would suggest is that Lookout Sir against precision shots only takes a penalty, whether it be -1 or -2 as per the Assassin's No Escape special rule. And maybe make the Assassin's No Escape special rule a complete, like maybe a -3 or no Lookout Sirs whatsoever, because they're just that damn good. Just because it makes perfect sense that a sniper should be, at least in my opinion, stealthy, out of sight, and then just picking off targets whenever they see fit with their precision shots. Hence, characters wouldn't know where the targets were coming from, which is why they have pinning. And I just think it could be done. A small tweak and probably won't affect 99% of things, but just a thought. The last one majorly would be vehicles. Now, vehicles don't need much. The problem with vehicles is their cost compared to monsters. Monsters are, point for point, generally superior to vehicles. I mean, you can compare monsters more with walkers, and monsters creatures will mess up pretty much every walker in the game. So I think vehicles either need a sort of a generic booster to their resilience to help them compete with monsters in that sense, or an across-the-board points reduction to try and keep them in line. I know that's scary thinking about more tanks in a guard army, but at the moment, monsters outclass vehicles because vehicles don't have enough firepower to bring the monsters down because they're bringing rapid fire. They're designed for infantry, and the big guns are only going to be doing one wound at a time as opposed to killing something like they would on another vehicle. Whereas once the monster closes the distance, dead. And some monsters don't even need to close the distance because they're either flying or they're deep striking or they've got big scary guns of their own. I don't know if vehicles just need a resilience boost to bring them in line with monsters. A theory I had, and I know it will be overpowered, would be that you could only be killed by a penetrating hit. You can lose all your hull points bar one to a glance, but that last hull point has to go to a penetrating hit. It would make Land Raiders completely unstoppable, I know, so it would never happen. But it was just an idea that popped into my head when thinking about how you could make vehicles a bit tougher. Either that, or you make it so only AP1 weapons can blow vehicles up. But at the same time, the problem with that is vehicles aren't generally dying to penetrating hits, they're dying to glancing hits in the majority, and that's my problem. I think that mainly covers the main changes I would like to see, or some suggestions for things I would want to see change to 40k. Now, there's been talk that this edition will either be a complete overhaul, which I somehow doubt, or it will be a streamline, a 7.5 streamline. Now, I'm all in favour of streamlining the game, but you have to be careful how far you take that streamlining. So for me, I think the game needs to be simplified to reduce the barrier to entry. It is a bit complicated. I mean, I can teach someone to play 40k, and I have done. I've got a battle report where I taught someone to play the game. But at the same time, it's quite complex to get into initially when you've never seen anything before. You need, and particularly when looking at rulebooks and codices, there's a lot there. Reducing the complexity barrier, particularly for competitive play, might actually be worth doing. You don't need to do too much, just make a few universal rules a bit simpler, try and reduce the amount of stupid interactions between stuff. I know that would require codexes to be tweaked. But a general streamline might be possible. But if you overdo it and oversimplify the game to make it quick, simple, easy to access, you risk going down the Age of Sigmar route. Now, I have nothing wrong with AOS. Don't take that to say I have anything wrong with AOS. But people had a backlash to AOS, to Age of Sigmar, because they found it, well, they couldn't play it competitively. It had no point system and everything like that. So you've got to be careful that you don't oversimplify the game, because then you'll end up getting a user backlash, kind of like what Age of Sigmar had. So a simplification of the game may not be terrible, but you've got to be careful with how simple you make it, because I, for one, appreciate the complexity of 40k. I like my game to be complicated. My mantra when we were talking about Fantasy 9th, before AOS was even a thing, was the game should be easy to learn and hard to master. That's my mantra with these sorts of games. Easy for someone to pick up and play, but if you want to get really good, you're going to need to put the work in to do it. So there you go. Those are my thoughts on how 40k could be improved if the rumours of an 8th edition are true. Like I say, I don't want one just yet because it sets the trend of a 2-year rulebook cycle, and I don't think 7th is in that bad of a spot, although I don't keep track of the competitive scene, so I don't really know what's going on in everybody else's meta. Those theories are things that I've had based on my experiences. So maybe some people have problems with Lords of War, some people have problems with summoning. These are things we don't generally come across. So obviously this is going to be a very interesting topic to talk about, and as we get nearer to the supposed September release, if there is any more news, anything solid, I will bring it to you in a news and rumours video. So Thank you very much for watching the video. I do hope you have enjoyed it. If you have any thoughts, make sure to leave them in the comments below. I'll be very interested to see what you have to say. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Michael for Tactica Imperialis. Until the next time, I'll see you all again. Bye for now.